Fig orchards, Satsuma orange orchards, and rice fields once flourished where Friendswood homes now stand. The last vestiges of them and the homes that the Quakers constructed are nearly gone, but the legacy left by those founders and early settlers remains. That legacy is the heritage of a way of life that did more to shape the character of the community than any brick-and-mortar buildings ever could. In the spring of 1895, a Quaker named Frank Jacob Brown, who had been an adventuresome buffalo hunter, and a Quaker named Thomas Hadley Lewis, who was a college-educated man, felt directed to this area of the Gulf Coast to establish a community dedicated to God. Starting Quaker colonies was a common practice of the religious sect called Quakers or Friends, as they were part of the westward movement across the nation in the middle to late 1800s. When Brown and Lewis came upon this area in northern Galveston County, they found 1,538 acres of prairie, well drained by Clear Creek, Coward's Creek, Mary's Creek, and Chigger Creek, and beautifully framed with the dense woods along the creeks. Feeling this surely was their promised land, they negotiated with the owner, Galveston banker J.C. League, for a deed of trust, and on July 16th of 1895, they recorded the name of the colony at the courthouse in Galveston. They named it Friendswood. From its beginning, all life was centered around the church and school. After their small church and school building was demolished in the 1900 Galveston storm, the 24 families built a large 2-story frame structure for their church and school. They used the lumber they milled from the trees that had fallen during the Great Storm. The building, called the Academy, housed all grades until 1914 and a parochial high school until 1928. It served as a church sanctuary from 1902 until 1949, when a larger stone building replaced it. Through the 1940s, Friendswood was predominantly a small, remote, farming Quaker community with fewer than 500 persons. Their economy depended largely on growing and preserving magnolia figs. After 1950, it became increasingly a suburban bedroom community as Houstonians discovered the idyllic country setting and farmlands were converted to subdivision home sites. The community became a city when it incorporated in 1960 with 960 residents. By 1970, the population had grown to 5,675. By 1990, the count was 22,814 residents, and at the turn of the century, the population had passed 33,000. Friendswood Friends Church believes that we are people who have been created and loved by God, who look to Jesus for salvation, and who seek to be led by the Spirit. We commit ourselves to love God with all of our hearts, minds, souls, and strength, and our neighbors as ourselves. We commit ourselves to learn how to follow Jesus. We commit ourselves to listen carefully and intentionally. Our commitments are to love, learn, and listen. Today, Friendswood is an attractive, growing, vibrant city with a strong sense of community and volunteerism, many businesses and churches, and an exemplary school district. The vestiges of the Quaker homes and enterprises are mostly gone. However, the legacy of the values of family, God, education, and community left by the founders remains.